Hey, I'm Jerome Braggs, medical intuitive speaker, teacher, and award-winning poet. And today in this video, I want to share with you some new insights I've gained from my near-death experience that I had in 2004. It's now 20 years later. It was my first near-death experiences. I've had two. And in this first one, I had a life review, and for many years, I thought that review was about just a few things that I'll share in this video. But over these past few years, especially this past year, I've gained some new insights that have changed my life and changed how I show up in the world and how I work with my clients. So I wanted to share that with you in this video. So before we go on with what the insights are, I want to just recap in case you're not familiar with me or my near-death experiences, what my first near-death experience was. So my first near-death experience happened on January 1st of 2004. I had checked into the hospital and with what I thought was the flu. I had been having flu-like symptoms for about 2 weeks. I'd been feeling muscle achiness and weakness, fever. And I just couldn't get over it. Like I've been trying everything I knew how to do, and it wasn't getting any better. And on New Year's Eve, January 3rd, I mean, December 31st of 2003, I kind of hit the pinnacle to where I was starting to feel experiencing some pain with that illness. And I had noticed that my feet were swelling. And so I went to the emergency room and uh, thought I was going to the emergency room to get treated for the flu, but instead ended up getting diagnosed with kidney failure, pneumonia, pancreatitis, anemia, a fluid-packed lung, um, uh, a parasite in my stomach. And if all of that wasn't delicious enough already, I was also diagnosed with AIDS. And when they gave me that diagnosis, the doctors also told me that I had about 7 days to live, that my situation had progressed to a point where they didn't know if they were going to be able to save me, help me further past that, that I needed to get my affairs in order. And just in case that, 7 days was going to be the remainder of my life. And so when they left me, after they told me that diagnosis, right, they left me alone in the hospital room. I was in complete shock because I was 24 years old at the time. I had just graduated from college the year before and was working a professional job. Um, and I was in no way in my mind was I looking, expecting to be told that I was going to die. So I had this big shocking moment, here in the hospital room. And as I began to face the reality of my death, um, I was going through my head with some things. One, I was already kind of on a spiritual path at that time, so I believed that I was a soul having a human experience. I believed that death wasn't the end of my soul, that my soul would continue after death, that there was something after death. And I didn't know quite exactly what that was, but I knew that, believed that it was, death wasn't the end. That wasn't the end to me. And so as I'm sitting here, facing the reality that I was getting ready to die, I wasn't horrified from death. I wasn't afraid of death because I believed that I was going to continue. And but I was kind of shocked because again, I wasn't expecting to hear that I was dying. I thought I had the flu and that this was going to be something I was going to get over very quickly. And in that very moment that I began to realize that I was dying and I began to really take all of that in, um, I had what's called a life review. Now, my life review was different than other people who have had near-death experiences where they cross over to the other side because I didn't die at this time. This happened while I was still in my body, still alive, lying on the hospital bed. And it was a bit different from other people's life experiences because life reviews, because a lot of times in life reviews, especially when we actually leave the body and we go to the other side, what ends up happening is you begin to see one of the major aspects of life reviews that many people who've had near-death experiences have recounted, like whatever gender they are, color they are, wherever nationality or wherever in the world they live. This has been very common for people who have life reviews, is that they see their entire life, which flashes before them, kind of like on a movie screen, and they get to see how their choices affected everyone in their life, everyone that they encountered in their life. They get to see this, and not only get to see it, but they get to feel how that choice, what they said, what they did, what they didn't do, what they showed up for, and what they didn't show up for. They get to see how that actually made the people in their lives feel. And when I say they get to see it, I'm not saying it just shows up on the screen. Like, they literally feel it inside of themselves. They feel it as if they were the person experiencing it. And then during a lot of people's life reviews, that experience feels very painful because you feel the pain and the suffering that you cause somebody else. And that often leads people during their life reviews to make a decision that they don't want to cause that type of suffering and pain for everybody else. And they want to change their lives so that they help people feel love and they help people feel uplifted and worthy and free and blissful instead of ashamed or hurt. So I said all that to say that wasn't what happened in my life review. I didn't see that part, but my life did flash before me, my entire life. And instead of looking at how, you know, being shown how my choices affected other people, I was being shown how they affected me. And what was happening as I began to see my life from childhood all the way up until that very day, what began to happen for me was there were these questions that kept rotating in my head and like almost in my body. Like I could feel the question, not just hear the question. It was going over and over and over again. And there were like four main questions. And one of them was I happy with my life? Was I happy with the life that I had lived? And the second question was, had I really truly been myself in my life? Had I ever really truly been Jerome, like the authentic Jerome? And the third question was, did the people in my life know how I truly felt about them? Like, had I really expressed how much I loved them, what they meant to me, um, what I really loved about them? And then the fourth question, and this was the final one, was did I feel like I was going to leave this life having deposited the reason for which I came? So this is kind of going to, did I feel like I had lived my life's purpose, right? And as these questions kept going and rotating, as my life was flashing before my eyes, I began to feel an immense sense of dread and an immense sense of terror. And again, this wasn't coming from the fact that I was getting ready to die, because again, I believed very strongly that death wasn't the end. So it wasn't something that I was afraid of. But what that wasn't what was causing the fear. What began to cause the fear for me was this realization of what my answer was to these questions. And so the first question was I happy with the life that I had lived? And what I realized is that as I began to view all of these scenes flashing before my eyes, was that I wasn't. I wasn't happy with the life that I had lived. I hadn't really been doing what I really wanted to do. Like, for example, at that time in my life, I had just graduated from college, and the entirety of my college career, and even when I was a kid, I knew what I really wanted to be at that time was a singer, and I wanted to sing, right? And even when I went to college, I went to college thinking no matter what, no matter what degree I got, once I graduated from college, I was going to go into the world and sing, right? I wanted to travel the world and be a singer. But instead, somewhere along the way, especially towards the end of my years in college, I had got saturated with the idea that that's not going to make you any money and you can't survive like that. And so you need to get a job. And that's what I was doing. I was working a job, right? A 9 to 5 job, which all of my life, even when I was a kid, I just had this inner knowing that I wasn't a 9 to 5 kind of person, that I was never going to be that, that I wanted more freedom than that. And I also didn't want to work in the type of fields that it required me to be 9 to 5, which was singing and which was, teaching spirituality and stuff like that. I knew this very young, but here I was in a 9 to 5 job, and I wasn't singing anywhere, and I wasn't performing anywhere, and I wasn't even really pursuing it very well. So I wasn't happy with my life. I hadn't been happy in my life, and I had really let other people's opinions of what I should be and what I should do guide my life instead of my own desires and my own inner yearnings and my own passions. So I began to be very afraid because I realized I was getting ready to die, never having really been happy with my life, never really have taken the risk to live a life that made me happy. And then I also realized that I had never really truly been myself. I had seen in my life review how much I had suppressed who I really am, that I wasn't really fully living the truth of myself, right? I wasn't living the truth of my sexuality at that time. I'm same gender loving, and I was hiding that from many people in my life, even from many people that I worked with at the time. Even though I worked at the time at an organization that was for same gender loving men, we gave services for them for HIV and AIDS, and to better their lives. And the majority of people that worked at that organization, like 90%, were same gender loving as well. They were gay and same gender loving. And but I still was hiding that aspect of myself in ways. For fear, I had many fears around being safe and being loved. And I believe that if I truly expressed that part of myself, that I wouldn't be safe in the world and I wouldn't be loved. So I suppressed it in certain areas. Uh, I also had intuitive gifts. I had intuitive gifts ever since I was a kid, and I wasn't expressing those. I wasn't letting those be seen, again, for fear that if I did that, I would, lose belonging. I grew up in a culture and an environment that was heavily and traditionally Christian. And most of the people that I surrounded myself with, that was very weird to them. So, if I believe that if I can't really express the fullness of that at that time, that I would lose all my friendships, I would lose all my connections. So I wasn't, expressing that way. I also suppressed my voice a lot. I wouldn't speak up about what I actually believed, what my opinions were, especially if I believed that they would cause conflict or rock the boat in my environment. So there was a lot of places where I was editing myself and suppressing myself, and I wasn't being true to myself. And so I had never really lived a very authentic, true life. And I realized that, and I realized that I was about to die, having never ever really truly been myself in my life. And then the third question, right, I realized was also the answer to that was no, because I had never really expressed how I actually felt to people. I had a hard time expressing my true feelings for people because I was afraid that of being that vulnerable. And if I was really vulnerable and I told people how I really felt them, then they could hurt me, or they would hurt me, or they would leave me, and then I would be hurt. So I had a hard time telling people that how much I loved them, how much they meant to me. And I realized that I was going to leave this earth with people not ever having really known how they touched me, how they made my life better, how much I loved them, right? Let alone not really speaking up for where certain things bothered me, or where they were inappropriate for me, or where they weren't okay with me, right? I just lived a very suppressed life around my feelings and my emotions. And so I realized that as well on my deathbed during the life review. And then the last part was, um, I didn't feel like I was going to leave this world having lived my purpose, depositing the reason for which my soul came here, right? There was books that I had really wanted to write that I had never written. Um, I had never really gone after pursuing being a singer. I hadn't really I was very much into wanting to teach what I knew about spirituality and the soul, and never really had done that, right? So there was all these things, these yearnings that wanted from me, that wanted to be birthed in this lifetime, that wanted to see the light of day, that I felt like were going to die with me, that they weren't going to have ever had a chance to live in my life because I was getting ready to die. And so there was this existential kind of dread and regret that I started to feel as I was finishing my life review. And it was that I was getting ready to die, not having really ever lived my true life, the reason why I was here. And that was a big wake up call for me because I did not want to die like that. I didn't want to die not having ever really lived. And so I made the decision on my deathbed at that time that I was going to live, that I was going to survive because I did not want to die like that. I wanted to die being able to say yes to all those questions. Yes, I was happy with the life I lived. Yes, I had truly been myself in my life. Yes, all the people in my life knew how I felt about them. And yes, I had deposited the reason for which I came to this planet into my lifetime. And so I was going to leave having fulfilled that. And so that began the impetus behind my healing and behind my healing journey after that. And how I healed myself from all those illnesses and those diseases after that. It was fueled and solely inspired by that awakening that I had in that life review. And I thought for many years after that that that's what my life review was about, right? That that's what it was about. It was about me living a life where I could say yes to all those questions, and that was for many years how I took it and how I began to have it. And I now understand that yes, that's true, many years, 20 years later, and so much has happened in my life after that, and so much has transformed and healed in my life, and so much awareness has happened with my intuitive gifts opening up, me being a channel and a medium, me helping other people heal through my intuitive abilities. All of this has taught me so much more about the soul and about who we really are and about what life is really about. That's in that I began to have other insights around my life review. And what I now understand is that what my life review was also showing me was it was showing me, yes, those things, absolutely. But what my life was showing me, my life review was showing me was that because of all these things, because I wasn't happy, because I wasn't being myself, I hadn't lived a life that made me happy, because I wasn't being myself, because I wasn't expressing my heart to the people that I cared about and that were close to me, and because I wasn't really doing the things that led me to a sense of fulfillment and meaning, that what I actually had been doing was I had disconnected myself, misaligned myself, misattuned myself from love. I love the energy and the consciousness of love, which is the essence of my soul. And my body was dying. It became sick, deathly sick, and began to die because my body, the human body itself, is not created to be able to run off of or thrive from a deep lack of love within it, the consciousness and energy of love that the body actually needs, the essence of our soul, which is love, the consciousness and energy of love, to be inside of it in order for it to stay healthy and for it to thrive. And without that, without that connection, without that consistent flow of love within us and through us, the body begins to break down. And what my life review was showing me was how I had disconnected myself from love. the different ways where I hadn't been myself, where I wasn't happy, where I was not allowing my truth and how I truly felt to be expressed, and where I wasn't living in accordance to why my soul had come to this life. And what I learned since is that love is a consciousness, right? It's consciousness and an energy. The consciousness of love feels, well, thinks like, it sounds and thinks like all is well. All is loved and lovable and worthy, especially about me. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing missing from me. That I am safe in this world, especially safe to be myself. Um, that I can do, be, or have whatever I truly want. And so I had been very separate from this consciousness. And because I had been separate from this consciousness, I had been afraid, right? So if I had believed that I was safe in the world, especially safe to be all of myself, I would have been my true self. I would have stayed true to myself instead of been afraid to express my sexuality, afraid to express my intuitive gifts, and afraid to express my beliefs and my opinions and my values in this world. I would not have, I would have freely expressed that instead of suppressed it. And that suppression led me to being disconnected from my authentic self. And also, love is an energy, right? So, the energy of love, when we hold the consciousness of love, we embody the energy of love. And the energy of love feels like bliss, it feels like worthiness, and it feels like a deep sense of peace, right? And so when I didn't hold the consciousness of love in my life from those things, I wasn't feeling blissful. I wasn't feeling peaceful. I wasn't feeling worthy. And so I had been very, very, very disconnected from love. I had been the love that I am. We are each souls. This is what I learned in my second near-death experience that I'll do another video on. But we are each souls, and as souls, we are facets of Source. You can call it God, if you will, but we are facets of Source. We are aspects of it, like like the hand, like the wholeness of this is the hand. So the wholeness of my hand, all of this, like five fingers, the palm, all of this is my hand. So this is Source. We each are like a finger on the hand, right? We are part of the hand. We are the hand, and we also are having individual experiences, but we are not separate from the hand. We are part of it, and we are made of what the hand is made of. And so this is kind of exactly how it is with us being a soul and me being a soul. We are made of love. Love is literally source. It is the consciousness and it is the energy of source. It's the essence of what we are. We are made from it and we are made for it. We are made to live a life that um, expresses it and nourishes it and feeds it and grows it. And this was another thing that I learned as well. So I had not been the love that I am. I had not been the consciousness and the energy of love because of those things, because of the fears and the shames that I had held, that it caused me to hide myself, that it caused me to not pursue a life that made me happy, that led to my own bliss, that instead of being at peace, I was stressed because hiding ourselves and suppressing ourselves and doing what we don't really want to do, what really feeds us, is stressful, right? It's not peaceful. It doesn't add peace to us in any way. It adds stress. And also, I had been not living a life of meaning to me, not doing something that fed me, that made me feel alive, that made me feel like I was honoring who I really am. And so I wasn't being the soul that I was in my life. I was being what I believed would get me approval, being what I believed would make me money, being what I believed would get me belonging and would keep me safe, instead of being myself and being happy and being uh, expressive of who I really am and living a way that would lead me to peace instead of inner stress and duress. Um, and the other part of it too is that what I learned about was that my life review was really about how I had been disconnected from my purpose here. And no matter who we are, no matter what our gender is, our sexuality is, our color or race is, our nationality is, our purpose, the reason why our soul manifests into a human lifetime is to be the love that we are and to live a life that uplifts this love and feeds this love, or what I call nourishes this love, so that it can expand, so that it can grow. We are literally here to be love and grow love, like bring love, make it bigger than it's ever been, the unique facet of God, of source that we are, to make this bigger, right? To make it a bigger consciousness in our lifetime and a bigger energy. So, for example, if the energy of love is bliss, worthiness, and peace, right? It's those aspects that make it the wholeness of love energy. Then can I expand that vibration within my lifetime instead of diminish it? Can I become more blissful instead of less? Can I become more peaceful instead of less? Can I become even more and more um, worthy, feeling a sense of worthy instead of feeling less, right? Each year, I'm supposed to grow that in some way. I'm supposed to feel more blissful than I did last year, more worthy than I did last year, and more at peace than I did last year. This is literally what spiritual growth is, growing the consciousness and energy of love within us. I'm supposed to feel and think in alignment and in tune with that all is well, even more than I used to. I'm supposed to feel that all is loved and worthy and enough, even more than I used to. I'm supposed to feel that I'm safe in the world, especially safe to be myself more than I did last year, right? This is spiritual growth, growing the consciousness of love and growing the energy of love within me. This is expansion, and this is literally what expands the soul and expands the entire universe. And what my life review was showing me was that I wasn't doing that. I wasn't being love and I wasn't growing love. Instead, I was disconnected from who I truly am. And instead of growing love within me, I was diminishing it. I was shrinking it. I was suppressing it. So instead of a surplus of love in me, I had a lack of love, right? Because I wasn't being myself, I wasn't growing love. Because in order to grow love, we have to be true to ourselves. We have to express who we are. We have to be happy. We have to become more happy, right? And I wasn't living a life that made me happy. I was living a life that made me feel drained. I was living a life that disconnected me from my passions and my bliss. I wasn't doing what made me feel like my life was meaningful to me and felt fulfilling to me. And so, in this way, instead of growing my soul, I was shrinking it. I was shrinking it within me, and to where it was barely there. And this lack of my soul in my body, this lack of love in my body, made it sick because the body is literally created to house the essence of love and to help it grow. And when it's not growing and when it's disconnected or when it's missing or lacking somewhere within us, then it's kind of like a car that no longer has gasoline or fuel. If it's an electric car, no longer has electricity in it, it cannot run. It cannot work at its best. It begins to break down or stop altogether. And this is the same thing that was happening, that my life review came to show me that I now understand. I didn't understand it as well back then, but throughout these years, I've had many experiences that have shown me that this is what it's really about. Um, and this is what our lives are really about. We're here to be love and live a life that helps uplift and feed and nourish that love so that it expands and it grows in our life. Um, and that has changed me. It's changed my understanding about what I'm really here to do and how I show up, right? I now express how I feel, let people know how I feel about them. I write appreciation letters weekly to people in my life, letting them know, like, here's what I'm grateful for about you. Here's what I really celebrate and love about you. Here's why I'm just, just over the moon that you are who you are and you're here with me. I live a life where I'm happy. I don't chase money. I chase joy. I chase a feeling of fulfillment. I chase meaning. That is what makes the decisions and choices in my life, especially around the work that I'm doing. Um, I make sure I surround myself with people who make me happy and who uplift me. Um, I am myself, right? I live true to myself. I express my truth, not just around my sexuality, not just around my intuitive gifts, but around everything, right? I stay true to my yeses, my true yeses, and my nos. I express how I feel, even if that expression is not going to be popular or is going to cause some type of conflict. I stay true to my boundaries. And I'm also living a life where I feel like I'm fulfilling more and more of my purpose, right? I've written a book now, and I'm in the midst of writing my second one. Um, I'm doing work that really feeds me, helping people heal themselves through the practice of self-love. Um, all of this is me now really honoring my life review and um, really understanding what it was trying to teach me. Not just that I had to live a life that was true to Jerome, but that I had to live a life that was true to the purpose for which my soul came here. And that was to be the love that it is in my lifetime, to be the fullness of it, and to live a life that feeds and grows that love so that it becomes bigger and more expansive in my life. And that has now become my guiding post. Like every day, how can I do that? What are the steps that I can do every day to help me do that? Sometimes they're big things, but most of the times they're very small things. Like call that friend and tell that friend how they really feel about how you really feel about them, or um, do some writing today because writing makes you feel really fed and makes you feel like really fulfilled. Or sometimes it's rest. You've done a lot and you need to be more at peace. You need to rest in order to do so. But that is my guiding lights now, whereas before my guiding light was, can I live a life that where I can answer a question, those questions to be yes instead of no. That's still, part of my guidance for my life. But now it's really, can I be the love that I am today? And can I feed it in some way? Can I make it bigger? What can I do? What can I think? What choices can I make? What type of environment do I need to move within so that I can feed the love that I am and make it bigger, the feeling of it bigger and the consciousness of it bigger within me? Um, and that's kind of what it's been all about for me and with the insights I've gotten around that. So I wanted to share those with you because I've been talking about my near-death experiences all over the world for years now. And this is the first one. And that kind of awareness is what kind of led me to my first healing. But my second healing needed a deeper awareness, which is what my second near-death experience was about. And I'll do another video coming soon about that. And that awareness was really about understanding that I am love. I am the consciousness and energy of love incarnate in a physical body. And I'm here to be that consciousness and be that love and be that energy. And also uplift that consciousness and energy and feed it so that it expands and I become more of that consciousness in my life instead of less. So, as always, thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this for your own development, your own growth, your own healing. And as always, I love you. Now go love yourself. Bye.